touching hearts and changing lives in Cambodia and North America, coming up next on Global Mission Snapshots.
Just before he went up to heaven, Jesus gave us a command. He gave us a mission. Jesus said, "Go. Go unto all the world, telling them of His love." This is our mission. This is our global mission.
Hello and welcome to Global Mission Snapshots. I'm Gary Krause. On today's program, we'll be visiting Cambodia, where we'll meet a global mission pioneer and his wife who rely on his motorbike to carry the gospel to remote villages. We'll also meet a family who stepped out in faith and answered God's call to serve in mission. Over the years, they've touched countless lives in Cambodia. We'll also be talking with Joe Watts, the Disaster Response Coordinator for Adventist Community Services here in North America, and we'll find out how they're impacting the lives of people touched by disaster. But first up, let's look at one of Adventist Mission's classic videos, which shows what happened when an Adventist pastor in British Columbia, Canada, handed out $100 notes to members in his shocked congregation.
My name is David Jameson, and I'm the lead pastor at the Aldergrove Adventist Church in Aldergrove, British Columbia, Canada.
And so we just want to thank you so very much for being a part of the Aldergrove Adventist Church and for being a part of sharing the Christ Who Cares together with people all around us in Aldergrove, Abbotsford, Langley, Surrey, and beyond.
The philosophy for this ministry basically comes from Ministry of Healing, page 143, Christ's method alone. Jesus' method was to mingle with people, to minister to their needs, sympathize with them, do whatever he could to help. Then he bade them follow me. We often pray the Lord's Prayer, "Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven." We decided that we were going to do that. We wanted to bring the kingdom of God down to this earth. And so we had the opportunity of preaching on the parable of the talents. And we decided to give away 50 $100 bills to our congregation with the challenge that individuals would come forward, receive one of these $100 bills, and within 90 days they would pray over this $100 bill, multiply it appropriately, and do an act of kindness for someone outside the walls of our congregation, anywhere locally or in the world. And people responded wonderfully to that. 50 $100 bills were handed out, and now the multiplication has taken place, and those funds have been multiplied to over $75,000 and 40 projects that have happened locally and abroad.
When Pastor Dave got up and challenged everybody, we had participated in some of the ones last year, but hadn't taken one on ourselves. So we decided to take one on ourselves and do it in that manner. Head One project.
It's called Minivans for Moms. And this one member just said, I've wanted to do this, and he's got some connections, and he's gotten to know one of the single moms from our oil change. And he says, she needs a new van. I'm going to start that ministry.
And her old car was just falling apart. It was going to need a bunch of more work, I think, than the car was even worth. So it was just nice to give her a hand up at the right time.
I got a phone call and they told me that they're considering upgrading me to a van because I had a really run-down old vehicle. And I said yes, and then I went to church and they gave me the keys.
Well, of course, we invited her to church the day that we presented her with the key, and here the next Sabbath, she came to Sabbath school. We had invited her, and she says, "Yeah, I'm going to be there." And I talked to her again, and she goes, "Yeah, I'm going to be there." I'm like, "Oh, okay." Sure enough, she was there like at 9:30 in the morning, and we just talked to her again, and she's talking about coming again to the Sabbath school because she has a little girl, Talia. Even she had told her grandma, and her grandma's like, oh, they're letting you use it for a while type thing. She says, no, they're giving it to me. And I suppose there was, some unbelief there. And she just seems quite happy that she's in something that's respectable.
I just feel very blessed, and it's just unbelievable that people can be this kind and reach out to others that need help. I feel like I should be giving something back, so we've been coming to church and just praying and thanking God and thanking everything for what they've given us.
By allowing our membership to develop relationships with their neighbors, with business owners who want to support acts of kindness, then they ask you, they want to know, why do you do what you do? And then we have a chance to share our faith and to share what Jesus Christ has done for us.
People in our society want to see Christ before they're willing to listen to someone sharing Christ. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I'm delighted that Pastor Joe Watts has joined us today. Joe is an Associate Director for Adventist Community Services in North America. Welcome, Joe.
Thank you.
Now, what particular areas do you oversee?
The three of the areas, disaster response, youth empowered to serve, and also crisis care.
Now, these are very focused ministries on the community, and it seems to me that when we look at Adventist churches and many Christian churches in general, that we can easily get into the mode of focusing on our own needs, keeping the church members happy. You're talking about an outward focus. Tell us about the philosophy of ACS.
Well, the philosophy is to get the salt out of the shaker and get it out and make a difference in the community. And I always felt like that as when I was pastoring, that if I could get my people focused outward, that then they wouldn't be fighting and focusing on attacking me as a pastor. So it works. It works, yeah.
So, Joe, give me an example. Give me a recent example of how Adventist Community Services has been able to help people in the community.
Well, Hurricane Sandy was a big event called a superstorm. And we had 4 conferences, the Greater New York Conference, the Northeastern, the New Jersey, and the Allegheny East, along with some of the surrounding conferences even supported them, because that's what we do. We support each other. And in disaster, in time of disaster, we don't stand alone. And they did tremendous things. And then the tragedy in Newtown happened. And of course, they called us. They had over 60,000 teddy bears that were donated. People said, well, those kids need a teddy bear. And so there was an inundation of teddy bears and toys, and I mean, like, we've got 3,600 boxes of stuffed toys. We've got school supplies, 500 to 600 boxes of school supplies. Got teachers in there to organize and by age level, and has really helped the town so that they don't have to deal with that tragedy on top of the tremendous tragedy that happened in their town.
Now, Joe, what about somebody who might say, we have organizations such as the Salvation Army that are doing a terrific job. The job of the Seventh-day Adventist Church is to preach the gospel. Why are we wasting our time doing this when there's so many other organizations? Well,
the thing is, selfishly, we need it. To be honest, we need to have an outward focus. Christ was concerned about the compassion of people. He was concerned about what compassion we would have for others. He knows in our human nature and our human makeup, we need to think outside ourselves. And yes, there are good organizations, and they're doing a good work. But Adventist Community Services has a real niche, and donations management is one of the areas, or is the area that we're known for completely across all the states, all the United States of North America. And so we deal in that donations management. We do other things too.
So Joe, what is donations management?
Okay, donations management, all organizations deal in donations, But donations management is taking the undesignated donated goods, things that people send after a disaster. They empty their closets, their garages, whatever, and taking those things and organizing them, making sense, and then getting them back out to organizations that can use them and get them to the people that need help. And that's a tremendous asset in the both taking care of those donated goods that pile up, and then getting some good things to the people that need it.
Now, Adventist Community Services, how is it funded?
Funded by donations is basically the only way that we have to have funding is by the North American Division members who, in an outpouring, a lot of times are very, very generous, and we really, really appreciate that. Along with some people that are not Seventh Adventists, call AIM, call the number, and give a donation, and so it really helps. So
you can go to the Adventist Community Services website at communityservices.org.
Yes. Can
you donate there online?
Yes, you can, and it's really kind of fun. It's moving stuff over into a shopping cart, and it's a great thing. Well, have a ball like a video game.
Fantastic. Now, when you find that in a disaster that people are responding, that they know that you are there to help. What happens when you don't have enough to help? What do? You don't have enough goods. You don't have enough food.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. One of the things that we have the VOAD, which is Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, and that is 52 different organizations nationally that have worked together. Adventist Community Services is a charter member of that organization, and we have partnerships that we develop that help each other, and so that really is kind of what happens is we get another organization involved, a partner helping, and you put out your needs and say, hey, we need this, and have, so that really is what takes place.
So you team together.
We team together.
Wonderful. Now, how many Adventist community sites are there in North America?
There's 1,250 community service centers, although I've found a lot of churches are doing community service activities but not counting as a center.
Right. And so your goal would be for every church to be involved?
Every church needs to be doing something, needs to pick something and be doing it in their community.
Now, are you available or any of your team to help churches get started?
Absolutely, and a lot of times we'll have events where we bring in conference events, and usually we try to bring more than one church together.
How many work at the head office in this area?
Elder Kwan and Winnell, and that's it.
Okay.
And then we have each of the ministries that we, Tutoring Elementary, Sandy Brown, Crisis Care, Steve Wilson, Marty Feldbush, and the others. Each ministry has a director that's a volunteer.
So you could hardly be guilty of being top heavy.
Right, exactly.
Thanks for joining us, Joe.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Viewers at home, what an important ministry this is, Adventist Community Services. To find out how you can be involved, how you can help, go to communityservices.org. My guest is Rick Kajira, the Communication Director for Adventist Mission, and he will be taking us to Southeast Asia, to Cambodia. Rick, thanks for joining us.
It's very good to be here, Gary.
Now, Cambodia, tell us a little bit about the country.
Cambodia is a country in Southeast Asia, and it was one of those countries that went through a very difficult time. During Pol Pot's time, millions of people were killed there. And so the country's had a real struggle coming back. In the most recent visit, you can see that there's been tremendous changes. They're much more open to tourism now. People are coming in. people's lives are improving. So Cambodia is a country that's been a very high interest to us in Global Mission for many years.
And we've seen Global Mission Pioneers have started many groups, not only in rural areas, but in the capital, Phnom Penh.
In the capital, Phnom Penh, they've had a number of churches that have been started. And several years ago, we visited and went out to some of the areas around Phnom Penh, including some churches that are out in houseboats types of situations. And I remember being in one where all they had was a tarp, blue tarp over their heads and a tarp on the ground because the field was muddy underneath. And we sort of, tiptoed our way through to that tarp and then took off our shoes and sat on the tarp. But it wasn't great for pictures because it makes everybody look very blue with the blue tarp over there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We have our challenges.
Now we're going to go up to Siem Reap, where there is a Adventist missionary family living there. Tell us about the family there.
Yeah, Tim and Wendy Maddox are Australians who are living there, and they've been living there for a number of years. And they were working there with the humanitarian agency, and they decided God had a different call for them. They wanted to do some other things, so they gave up their jobs and they moved out into an area, and they managed to find some land out there, and they bought this land. And they've started many things over the years. They've started an orphanage and a school, and they've got a beautiful church. And over the years, they have made a tremendous contribution to what Global Mission does, because they had a training center for the Global Mission pioneers there. But what I found fascinating was they showed us pictures about when they first went out there and the little house they lived in, and it was just a little tiny house. There were no trees. You look at the campus now, there are beautiful trees giving shade. When they started, there was virtually nothing there, and they were there in this little house with no electricity under the hot sun. And that dedication, of people who are willing to go out there and turn their lives over to God, basically, and say, Lord, what do you want us to do? And we'll do it.
And one of the interesting things about them is that they are supported by faith. So they don't receive a wage from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. They help the Adventist Church. The Adventist Church is not supporting them financially in any way. And that property you said that they bought it many years ago for a few $1,000s. Today it's valued at several million. They donated that to the church. They don't own it.
Yeah, they as Tim said when he was talking, he said, we started with nothing. People have been supporting us over many years, and we expect when we're done, if we don't die here and have our graves here in Cambodian soil, if we leave, we'll go out with just our suitcases.
Yeah. And he said, if God calls us to leave here, it'll have to be with a very loud voice.
Yeah, I think they are Cambodian through and through now. Both their boys are living with them, have gone to school elsewhere, but have come back. Their hearts are in Cambodia. And we visited their home, and most recently they built a television studio there, and they're starting to prepare programs for the Cambodian people, health programs, things like that. But we went to their home, and it's a wooden building that's been there for many, many years, and the termites have gotten into the wood, and they're still living there, and they're saying, this is our home. Someday we may have to build a new one, but right now this is our home. Also, you mentioned that they live on faith. And that's one thing that really impressed me is they don't ask their supporters for specific things. They say, God knows what we need. He will supply our needs. And that's the kind of faith that we all should have.
Yeah, I was talking with him, and he expressed surprise at how the church operates, that we have budgets, etc. He says, we don't have those sort of things. God provides it as we need.
I was talking to some people who are in the finance area of the church, and we were talking about that very thing, and we said, if the church leadership were to operate that way, they would be criticized on the one hand for not planning, and yet they're criticized for lack of faith on the other hand. So it seems like sometimes they can't win.
Well, the thing is, that's true. The thing is, we need all types of people with different callings. And Tim and Wendy have certainly showed that their priority are the people of Cambodia.
Yeah, they really have. And I mean, just watching the children, as they come into church and Sabbath school, and how eagerly they come in and sit in the front rows and listen, and just intent. And then, leaving, to go to their Sabbath schools, I followed them down the pathway, and the enthusiasm with which they sing in that classroom is just, it warms your heart.
Now tell us about the church building.
The church building, there's a beautiful building. It's got these open windows, white tile floors, and the children just come in and sit on the white tile floors. The whole congregation sits on the floors.
Because it's not a Western church building, it's designed specifically for the Cambodian people.
Right, because in a Western building we have the pews, and we may have an organ and a piano, and they don't have that. They have a low table up front, and they just sit on the floor. And when you come into that church, all the shoes are taken off at the front door. And I always love seeing those shoes, because you're entering holy ground.
That's right. They represent people who are inside.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Rick.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
And viewers at home, please remember Tim and Wendy and their 2 boys and their ministry there in Cambodia, and missionaries serving all around the world, often in very challenging, very difficult circumstances.
My name is Kai Safal, and I work as a global mission pioneer in the country of Cambodia. Together with my wife, we travel to small villages on the outskirts of the capital city of Phnom Penh, sharing the truths of the gospel with everyone we meet. Our little bike has lots of kilometers on it, and we sometimes will visit villages that are more than 30 kilometers away. The hardest part is when you spend time sharing the gospel with people and they don't choose to believe what you've shared with them. Our greatest desire is for them to believe in Jesus, and when they don't, it can be difficult to take. One of the ways to reach out is to go speak one-to-one with people, share the gospel with them that way. Another way is to use the New Beginnings DVD program to preach the gospel. Another is to pass out tracts and explain to people what the tract is talking about. The tract talks about 2 roads of life: the road to life, the road to death. It tells about the life of Jesus, the reason why he came, his death and resurrection, going to heaven, and coming back again. When I go and visit villages and share the gospel, I find that people don't reject the message right away. But it is only a handful that fully accept and receive the message into their hearts. Most of society feels that religion is for old people. They want to work and make money when they are young. They don't have time for God. But the ones that find God are true to him, and their lives are really changed. You can see it on their faces when they read the Bible and really understand what it says. When they pray, they have a peaceful look that reflects the love that they have for God. This is what brings me joy. This is why I became a global mission pioneer. Because I wanted to be able to have as many people as possible hear the gospel so that they too could receive salvation. My hope for the membership of the Adventist Church in Cambodia is that they will take our message of truth and the Word of God to those who don't know and share with them, so that the church can grow and the truth can be spread throughout Cambodia.
I love to hear about how global mission pioneers are starting new congregations in new areas. If you're like me and would like to receive a monthly newsletter packed with stories and information about global mission pioneers and their work all around the world, then simply call us or visit our website and ask for Frontline Edition. Or if it's easier to remember, ask for offer number 301. Please clearly state your name and mailing address, and be sure to mention Frontline Edition or offer 301. Well, I hope you've been challenged and inspired by what you've seen on today's program. If you're a Seventh-day Adventist, please remember to support the mission offerings in your local church. But anybody can give online at any time by simply visiting our website at www.adventistmission.org. Thanks for joining us on today's program. Until next time, I'm Gary Krause, wishing you God's richest blessing, and I hope you can join us next time here on Global Mission Snapshots.
The sweetness of being with you all of the day. Oh, I pray, help this wandering heart to remain in you. I am blessed in you, so content. Guide my feet, cause them to keep walking in your perfect way, your perfect way, your loving, selfless way. Let me not negotiate with the old man that I now hate. Let him be nothing else but dead, that I might exist as alive only in Christ. I am free only in Christ, so happy, refining fire, healing my mind, mold me into the image of love, the image of love, beautiful image of you, who is love. Here is the life that I longed for. Here is the place that